The minute you walked in the joint, I could see you were a man of distinction, a real big spender, good looking, so refined.
In LA, I always wanted to call the show, "Who in the hell is Cy Coleman?" Because everybody knows his music. But Cy Coleman, the man, not so much. So that's why I'm here today. I'm just going to take you through his favorite stories and share his life story with you. Briefly, I'll tell you I met Cy 20 years ago in Mexico, San Miguel de Allende. We met, moved in together, fell in love, quicker than you could make guacamole. Really fast. And eventually he married me, and 11 years ago we had a child, Lily Cy Coleman. So I'm going to take you on a little trip down memory lane. When Cy was 4 years old, they were living in one of the tenements. There was a tenant in the building, and she played piano, and she had an upright piano, and she skipped out on the rent. This was the Depression. These things happened quite a bit. And Ida wasn't about to let that go to waste, so she had the piano moved to their apartment. Well, little Seymour was 4 years old, and he saw this big box in his living room with these little keys on it, and he started bang, 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 bong, 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 bong. And he just went at it for a few days, according to his sisters, that he was just making noise, and then Yetta tells the story. She says, all of a sudden I realized he was playing the karaoke. He was playing the friggin' karaoke. Now, I don't know what the karaoke is, but I think it's a song on the radio. They realized that he had figured out how to play a song from the radio. And he started playing lots of songs from the radio, and he was only 4 years old. This was in a matter of days of him getting near the piano. So a milkman heard him and said, you know, I think your kid's got some talent there. I think you should give him some lessons. And Ida said, I don't think so. And Max, his dad, who was a carpenter, said, music is for bums. And the guy said, no, really, you know, I know this lady who teaches piano, and I think she would really like to hear him. So they gave in and let the piano teacher come and listen to Seymour. She said, I think this boy's got something. I'll tell you what, I will make you a deal. I know you don't want to pay a lot of money. I'll give you one lesson, and then you pay me for the other lesson, 25 cents. So I'd have thought about it, it was a good business deal, and she took it. I said he always knew that his life was going to be in music, no matter what. He lived, ate, breathed, thought, music, music, music. That's all he did was play the piano. At one point his father nailed the piano shut. He couldn't take it anymore. So I said, the only thing he didn't count on it, he said, was that I was the son of a carpenter. I knew how to open it. Cy, by the time he was 7, had played Carnegie Hall, Steinway Hall, and Town Hall. Ida and Max raised their kids in the Jewish tradition, but they didn't go to synagogue or anything. But when it was time for Cy's bar mitzvah, they did get him ready for bar mitzvah. And he worked very, very hard on it. He took it very, very seriously, and he thought, you know, he was really prepared for it. And the day of his bar mitzvah, he showed up at the synagogue, and the rabbi was there, and nobody else showed up. His mom or his dad, brothers or sisters, and it really broke Cy's heart because he really poured himself into it. He felt that his mom just didn't care and let him down. I don't know what the real story was, of course, but he went out to lunch with the rabbi. After lunch, the rabbi felt bad for him. And Cy said he ordered a bacon, lettuce, and tomato salad. He said the rabbi understood. Cy was a good Jew, like I'm a good member of my gym. I belong, but I don't go. By the time it came time to go on to college, he decided to pass because there really was nothing more college could have taught him about music. And instead he took a very sharp left turn and shocked everybody in classical music, including his teacher here, Adele Marcus. Adele and the rest of the community were hurt and shocked when Cy decided to take up jazz. And he formed a jazz trio when he was 17.
Hi, John. Hi, Cy.
McCarthy Jr., and it was Frank Sinatra. Not a bad first break. Well, at this time, Cy was becoming enormously popular in New York on the scene. He would play, he had 2 wires coming out of jazz clubs, which meant that radio would come in and play his music live across the city and in some cases across the country. And for a little while, he had his own jazz club, the Playroom, which I said, if you don't have your own mother behind the till, don't go into the bar business. He was on a show called Art Ford's Famous Village Bar.
To the party with our life.
And in the commissary, he meets Carolyn Lee. Went up to Carolyn's publisher's office, and they sat down and they wrote a song. And it didn't take long, from what I understand, just a couple of days. They liked it, and they sent it over to Sinatra, who was recording at the time, and he liked it. And he recorded it. And I decided to use Cy doing it, because I thought you'd get a kick out of it, as opposed to Frank, which we've all heard.
Those fingers in my hair, that's like I'm here stare, that strips my conscience bare, it's witchcraft. And I've got no defense for it, 'cause the heat is too intense for it. What good would conscience for it?
Hugh Hefner really liked Cy, and he had Cy write the Playboy theme, which you still hear today whenever Playboy is mentioned or whatnot. Here's a little. Cy was working with Carolyn. And she was a workaholic. She wanted to write songs all the time, but Cy wanted to play in clubs. There was a big bone of contention between them. And so she came into the club one night and listened to something he was playing. And she said, "Oh, Cy, I've got to put a lyric on that song." He said, "Oh, no one will ever sing that song. The intervals are way too high, way too far apart. It's just not, that is not a singable song." She went home. She put a lyric on it, and somebody did sing it.
Out of the tree of life I just picked me a plum. You came along and everything started to hum. Still it's a real good bet, the best is yet to come.
Well, the way that Tony got that song, I think is a good one to tell. Frank Sinatra had a hit with Witchcraft, and he called Cy, and he said, "Cy, I want a song just like Witchcraft." I said, "Okay." And I said, "I want a song just like it. I know I could do well. Just give me a song like it." Cy thought for a minute, and he thought, He had a song that's been sitting at Frank Sinatra's for a couple of months, and he said, "Tony, you know what? I think I got one. I got one for you." He said, "Just give me a minute." He called up Carolyn Lee and said, "Frank's been sitting on this song. Tony wants a song. He said he wants a song just like Witchcraft. I think we should send him The Best Is Yet to Come." And she said, "But Cy, it's nothing like Witchcraft." He says, "Tony doesn't know that." I asked Tony's permission to tell that story.
Gotta say, hey, look me over, lend me an ear. Fresh out the clover, mortgage up to here. But don't pass the plate, folks, don't pass the cup. I figure whenever you're down and out, the only way is up, and I'll be up like a rosebud high on the vine. Don't thumb your nose, but take a tip from mine. A little bit short of the elbow room, but let me get me some, and look
Grant was a big fan of Si's, and he used to come and see his shows. And he asked me, he said, would you and Carolyn come out to Hollywood and write a song for my friend Peggy Lee to sing in my new movie? Universal at that point offered Si a lifetime contract to come and stay. And Si turned it down. And I look back on it and I think, how did Si know? What kind of hindsight did that guy have? He was in his early 30s. He was going back to New York to write another song, maybe another show. A lifetime contract at Universal would have meant he would have been a very wealthy man. He would have done very well. He would have run the whole musical department over there after a while. And he liked LA and he liked that whole scene. But I just think it really shows that he decided to bet on his talent and bet on his own self. And he said, no, thank you. And they said, they said this. I'm not making it with you. You'll never work in this town again.
The minute you walked in the joint, I could see you were a man of distinction, a real big spender. Good looking, so refined. Would you like to know what's going on in my mind? So let me get right to the point. I don't pop my cork for every guy I see.
People don't realize is it doesn't matter how many shows you've done. It doesn't matter who you are. Getting a show on Broadway is one of the hardest things that you can do. And you see a show running on Broadway or even off Broadway, kudos to you, buddy, because it is hard. People ask, so how do you write a song? You know, you sit down at the piano, you see that in the movies and everything, where they plink, plink at the piano and they scribble notes. He said, no, no, no. Those opus 1, 2, 3, 4. Right up there, I got them all. Because I got hundreds of songs up there. And about pianos, he told me once, he said, you know, pianos are great. He said, because, he said, they're for, so other people can hear what I wrote. He said, I can hear it all up here. He said, he told me once he could hear an entire orchestra, fully orchestrated in his head. One day, we were talking, the accountant had called and said, you know, you better tighten up your belts a little. You know, no show's running, things get slow, this is show business, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes you gotta tighten your belts. And he told me, he goes, so we gotta tighten up our belts a little. So, okay, great. He goes, honey, I just want to tell you, no matter what happens, we're gonna be fine. I play the piano. They always need piano players.
Okay. Jen, Pan, Ali, you think of a catchy tune, come up with a rhyme for June and you're in. Jen, Pan, Ali, where music with the lyric has caused the dizzy miracle of Tin Pan Alley. Them sentiments that you write can bring up a fortune overnight in Tin Pan Alley. It goes to show what you can do with I love you. It's daffy, dreamy, for what I wouldn't give to be a music man. Can't you see me side by side with Mr. Berlin, just one of the guys that's making that tin in Tin Pan Alley. Yes, that's the dear old place where I belong. Oh, you can have society, just write my name in variety with a Tin Pan Alley. Hey, throw me a rhyme for Sally, give me a Tin Pan Alley song. Well, there it is, now into the film.